In this video, we focus on the topic that is reproduction in lower and higher animals. So, every living organism shows different life processes like growth, metabolism, respiration, reproduction, excretion, and response to the stimulus, responsiveness. So these are the different properties of living organisms, life processes of living organisms that differentiate them from non-living things. But one of the most important and major life process which is not essential for the survival of organism, but it is essential for the survival of species on the earth. So this process is essential for the continuation of species on earth, and that is nothing but the reproduction. So reproduction is biological process in which new life arises or new life forms from pre-existing similar life. That means any organism can produce young one like them. That is called as reproduction. And why reproduction is so important? Because it is essential to maintain the species, any species on earth. Okay, so this is essential for maintaining species generation after generation, or continuation of the species on earth is possible because of reproduction. So reproduction is biological process in which new life forms from pre-existing life. New life forms from pre-existing, we call it as similar life. So every organism have a particular lifespan. To maintain the species on earth, every organism must show this process. So reproduction का important आहे तर एखादी species या अर्थ वरती survive राहण्यासाठी reproduction is one of the most important or major life process. Actually reproduction having two types of reproduction, that is sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So in this video we will focus on asexual reproduction. So type of reproduction. So how exactly this type? This type is based on how many parents are involved in that process. So asexual reproduction, in which one parent is involved, and sexual reproduction. And we will focus on asexual reproduction first. Later on we see this sexual reproduction. So you understand what is reproduction? New life forms from pre-existing similar life. That process is called as reproduction. So now we see the asexual reproduction. Characteristic of asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction. In such type of reproduction, only one parent is involved. So it is only one parent involved. So that means it is uniparental. We call it as a uniparental. Single parent is involved. That's why it is called as uniparental. In such type of very simple type of reproduction in which gametes are not formed. Gametes are special type of cells which are responsible for the production of new life. So such type of gametes are not producers. Gametes are not producers, Okay, then no fusion fertilization. Gametes are not formed, there is no fusion, no fertilization of gametes. And only mitotic type of cell division takes place. Only mitotic cell division. There are two types of cell division, but in asexual reproduction there is no formation of gametes. That's why only mitotic division takes place. Mitotic division takes place. Offsprings, whatever offsprings are produces after this process are similar with one another, and even they are similar, completely similar with their parent, that is their one parent, with morphologically and genetical character. So offsprings are similar with one another and their parents, and morphologically and genetically Why? Here no recombination takes place, meiosis is not there, gametes are not formed, that's why there is no any recombination. So morphologically and genetically similar with parents. Offsprings are similar with one another, not only one another, but they are morphologically and genetically similar with their parents. And such organisms are produced after asexual reproduction are called as clones. Clones are produced after asexual reproduction. So clones means organisms which are completely similar, or this morphologically or genetically similar with their parent. So remember these characters, only one parent is involved, that's why it is called as uniparental reproduction. Gametes are not producers, that's why it's also called as agamogeny. Okay, so gametes are not producers, no fusion, no fertilization, only mitotic type of division, and offsprings are morphologically and genetically similar with their parents, and they are similar with one another, and organisms are called as clones, and the process is fast. So this division process, reproduction process is fast. Okay, these are the basic characteristics of asexual reproduction. Now in case of plants, in case of animals, there are two types of asexual reproduction common, that is gamule formation, budding, and one more, that is fragmentation, even the regeneration also. So it is very common in lower invertebrates, that is gamule formation. Now we see in case of animals, asexual reproduction in case of animals, gamule formation, then second is a budding, third is fragmentation and regeneration. Fragmentation and regeneration. We will see in detail one by one. Okay. So asexual reproduction कळलं असेल तुम्हाला, तर asexual reproduction is a uniparental reproduction, agamogeny. Here in such type of reproduction, organisms can synthesize from one parent only. And in case of animals, gamule formation, budding, fragmentation and regeneration are common methods for asexual reproduction. Okay, so first we see the gamule formation. Okay, first we draw the diagram. Gemule is also called as endogenous budding. Bud which are produces inside the body of organism, that is called as endogenous budding. A special type of cells are produces inside the body of organisms okay, so such type of structure is given in your textbook. So what is gemule? Gemule is endogenous bud. Gemule is produces in sponges, that is in case of poriferans. So gemules are produces to overcome in unfavorable conditions. So what exactly gemule contains? So this is the outer membrane. This is the inner thick membrane which secretes by special cells, amoebocytes, inner membrane. Then these are monoaxon spicules. And very special cells which are inside this inner membrane, that is called as archaeocytes. And small opening, that is called as micropyle. Now what is the gemule? Endogenous bud which are produces inside the body of what? Spongilla. But when it produces in unfavorable condition, unfavorable temperature and water scarcity is there. At that condition, spongilla produces such type of bud, that is called as endogenous bud, that is the gemules. So gemules contain archaeocytes, outer membrane, inner membrane, spicules and micropyle. Okay, when return of this favorable condition, these archaeocytes are hatches and it produces न्यू ऑर्गॅनिझम्स. म्हणजे ज्यावेळी फेवरेबल कंडिशन रिटर्न येईल किंवा फेवरेबल कंडिशन असेल त्यावेळी दिस आर्किओसाइट्स आर प्रोड्यूसेस न्यू ऑर्गॅनिझम्स. So such type of reproduction takes place in poriferans, that is spongilla. So such conditions, such buds are producers inside the body of that organisms. So freshwater sponges, spongilla shows such type of gemule formation. आणि ज्यावेळी फेवरेबल कंडिशन रिटर्न येईल त्यावेळी हे जे काही archaeocytes आहेत, these are again what hatches and it releases out from this micropyle and they produces new organisms. So very simple type of budding, that is endogenous budding, that is gemule formation. Understand? Example of gemule is spongilla. So archaeocytes are the special cells. Then this is the outer membrane, inner membrane. Spicules are produces. When they get favorable condition, at that time they hatches out and they release from micropyle and they behave or they produces new organisms. So this is the first asexual reproduction in case of animals, that is the gemule formation. Now second, budding. So the next part of asexual reproduction is budding. So this is the exogenous bud produces during favorable condition. So this is the exogenous bud, and it is produces during favorable condition. So तुम्ही recall करा, that is gamule formation is endogenous bud and which takes place in unfavorable condition, and budding is an exogenous bud. This type of bud is a exogenous bud and which is occurs in favorable condition. Okay, so budding is seen in case of hydra. Examples of such type of reproduction is hydra, then corals and ascarians. So you will see the example of hydra. In hydra, at the basal part of body produces some outgrowth. Okay, so this is the outgrowth. Then this outgrowth is develops into a bud, developing bud. Then this bud is produces what? Tentacles. Now it is fully matured hydra. This is fully developed and finally which is detaches, this hydra is detaches from parent body. Yes, this is the new hydra which detached from the parent body. So budding is this type of bud is an exogenous bud. It is occurs during favorable condition. Examples of budding is hydra, corals and ascarians, that is tunicates, commonly called as tunicates. So we see the example of budding in case of hydra. In hydra, outgrowth is produces at the basal end of body and this outgrowth becomes developed into a bud and that developing bud produces tentacles, and then this fully developed bud is detaches and it behave as a new organism, new hydra. Okay, so this type of asexual reproduction is occurs in hydra, corals, ascarians. Then third type, understand this? Okay, now next is fragmentation. The fragmentation means body is divided into fragments and that fragments are developed as a new organism. So fragmentation. Body divided into different number of fragments and that fragments behave as a new organism. Now in case of planaria, so in case of planaria, the anterior end exerts pull on posterior end, and because of that pull the constriction is created and that is detached or separates from each other. These two parts are separate from each other. This is the anterior part and this is the posterior part. Okay, so this is because of anterior portion pulls, that is anterior portion pulls the posterior portion, that is cause constriction, and because of that two parts are separated, and finally these two parts behave as new organism. They produces whatever, so this anterior part produces the remaining posterior part, and this posterior part regenerate or produces the anterior part. Okay, and they behave as two new organism. So such type of reproduction is called as fragmentation. So fragments are divided into fragments are produces into new organisms. Understand what is fragmentation? When organisms are divided into fragments, and that fragments are behave as a new organism. So there is no any chance of any difference in that parents, okay, parents and offsprings, because it is asexual reproduction and it is morphologically and genetically completely similar. Okay, so this is the fragmentation. Example is planaria. Planaria shows fragmentation. Yes, understand this? So two new organisms are produces from these two fragments. The next is regeneration. Regeneration is a sexual process actually, and regeneration is found in lower organisms like a bacteria to the higher organisms, humans also. Regeneration, it occurs from lower organisms to higher organisms, humans also. Okay, so in case of humans, liver is a highly regenerative organ. Okay, so regeneration means repair, regrow of damaged part. Yes, repair and regrow of damaged part, that is called as regeneration. For example, Hydra. Hydra produces its remaining body part through regeneration. Hydra shows regeneration, but they reproduce through what? Budding. Hydra reproduces through budding, but they regenerate their remaining part of body, while this planaria also shows regeneration of their remaining part, detached body parts, and they are reproduces by fragmentation. So regeneration is a sexual process. In case of wall lizard, so wall lizard tail is detached or detached from body in danger condition, and it again regrow. Yes, that by this is the regeneration process, a sexual process. So regeneration is a sexual process in which repair and regrowth of damaged part, detached part. Hydra shows regeneration, but it shows reproduction by budding. Reproduction through budding. And planaria also shows regeneration of their detached body part, and they shows reproduction through budding. Through fragmentation. So reproduction of planaria is fragmentation. Reproduction of Hydra is budding. So examples are very important from this topic. So we just recall what is asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction in which only one parent is involved, no gamete formation, no fertilization. The organisms produces are completely similar with their parents morphologically or genetically. Only mitotic division takes place, and the organism is called as clone, and the process is very fast. Okay, and asexual reproduction in animals, that is First is gamule formation. In case of sponges, archaeocytes are produced, and such type of gamule is an unfavorable condition. It is a endogenous bud and produces during unfavorable condition. Example is Spongilla. And then next is budding. Budding is seen in case of Hydra, while that is fragmentation seen in case of Planaria, and regeneration. Thank you.